There was once a pod of whales who believed they knew the whole ocean. Generation after generation, they followed the same ancient currents, the same migration, the same feeding grounds, the same songs. Every calf was taught where to swim, where to rest, where to feed, and where never to go. Above all, they were taught never cross the still water. No one remembered who had first spoken those words or why. They simply knew. Beyond the still water, there were no currents, no food, no life, only silence. So each year when the migration reached those perfectly still waters, the pod turned. Not one whale hesitated, not one questioned. They simply followed, as every generation had done before. Until one season, a young calf noticed something. As the pod turned away, the oldest of whales looked back, not with fear, almost with wonder. The image stayed with the calf until one day it asked, if there's nothing beyond it, why do they always look back? The older whales smiled, because that's what we've always known. The calf nodded. For a while, that answer was enough. But some questions don't disappear, they wait. So one quiet evening, while the pod drifted beneath the moonlit sea, the young whale slipped away, past the familiar reefs, past the last current any whale had ever followed, until the sea became perfectly still. No waves, no sound, no movement. Every warning, every story, every certainty seemed to gather around that still water. Then, with one slow breath, the young whale crossed, and on the other side something appeared that no whale had ever sung about. There was once an ancient forest where every tree grew up perfectly straight. No branch reached further than another. No trunk leaned. Season after season, everything remained exactly as it had always been. Beneath the earth, the oldest trees whispered through their roots. They spoke of the great wind, a force that could bend giants, carry seeds across mountains, and awaken forests beyond the horizon. The young saplings loved those stories. As the years passed, the stories became legends, until eventually most of the forest no longer believed the great wind had ever existed, except one small sapling. Every morning, before reaching towards the light, it became perfectly still, almost as though it were listening. The older trees noticed. What are you listening for? The wind. There isn't any wind. I know. Morning after morning, season after season, the forest remained silent until one evening, as daylight faded, every leaf became still. No bird sang. Even the air seemed to pause. And then, from somewhere beyond the forest, came the very first whisper, and it said, there was once a little star that asked a question that no other star had ever asked. What does night look like? The older stars smiled. You can't see the night. Why not? Because we are the light. The little star accepted the answer for a while, but the question never disappeared. Night after night, while the other stars simply shone, the little star wondered what surrounded them. It watched planets turning, comets passing, galaxies drifting silently through the endless sky. And still, it wondered. The older stars noticed. Why do you keep asking? Because I think there must be more. There is nothing more. There is only the light. Years passed. The little star grew brighter, yet somehow, the brighter it became, the more curious it felt. Until one evening, instead of shining harder, it simply became still. Not dimmer, not brighter, simply still. And then, for the very first time, the little star saw what every other star had spent forever illuminating, and it realized there was once a young fennec fox who believed it knew the desert. Every morning, it would race beyond the den, following the same familiar dunes, the same rocky outcrops, the same weathered shrubs. Every evening, it would return, certain there was nothing left it hadn't already discovered. Its mother would smile. So, she would ask, the desert now? The young fox grinned. I know every path, every dune, every hiding place. Its mother never corrected it. She simply nodded. One morning, before the sun had fully risen, she invited the young fox to walk with her. Together, they wandered further than the young fox had ever travelled before. At first, everything felt familiar. The young fox recognised the distant dunes, the clusters of stone, the patterns left by the wind. Confidently, it led the way. Its mother followed quietly behind. Then, almost without warning, the wind changed. At first, a gentle breeze. Then, the air began to whistle. Tiny ribbons of sand danced across the ground. The horizon began to disappear. The wind grew stronger. The dunes began to move. Its mother looked up. Stay close. The young fox tried, but the wind became a roar. Sand filled the air. The ground shifted beneath its paws. Soon, it could no longer see. It called for its mother. The wind swallowed every sound. For a moment, the young fox believed it was completely alone. Then, through the swirling sand, it saw her silhouette. She turned and disappeared. Between two towering dunes, the young fox followed. Then, almost hidden beneath an ancient rock formation, they found the narrow opening of a cave. Together, they disappeared inside. Outside, the storm raged. Time seemed to disappear. The young fox curled beside its mother, listening to the wind howl around them. And for the very first time, the young fox quietly wondered if they would survive. There was once a city where every person was given a key on the day they were born. No one remembered who had given it to them. No one knew which door it opened, yet everyone carried it. Some wore it proudly, some hid it away, some forgot they even had it. As children, they would sometimes try their keys in different doors until someone would smile and say, "That one isn't yours." As the years passed, some people stopped trying. Instead, they admired other people's doors, studied other people's keys, collected books about doors, became experts on locks without ever opening one. Then one day, a traveller arrived. He wasn't carrying a better key. He wasn't searching for a better door. The city, trying each door, one by one. Some didn't fit. Some almost turned. Some wouldn't move. Until one afternoon, his key turned effortlessly. The door opened, not with noise, not with light, simply as though it had always been waiting. The traveller stepped forward, reached out, placed his hand upon the frame, and from the other side, someone said, "There are moments in life when everything changes, not because the world changes, because we do. From this moment forward, stop underestimating yourself. Stop waiting for certainty before you act. Stop believing that your past has the authority to define your future. You already possess everything you need to take the next step. Not everything you'll ever need, just everything you need for the next step. Trust yourself, trust your judgment, trust your ability to learn, trust your ability to adapt. You are more capable than you have given yourself credit for, more resilient than you have recognized, and stronger than you have been allowing yourself to believe. Life will continue to present uncertainty. That isn't the problem. The problem has only ever been believing that uncertainty means you should stop. It doesn't. Move anyway, learn anyway, and grow anyway. Because confidence is not something you wait to feel. It is something that you build through action. From today, choose courage over comfort, curiosity over certainty, growth over familiarity. And when you do, you won't become someone new. You'll become more of who you've always been capable of being. Welcome, the traveller stepped through. A guide stood waiting, not waiting for the traveller, waiting for the door. The traveller looked back towards the city. How many people find their door? The guide smiled. Every key opens one door. Then why do so few people find it? The guide was quiet for a moment and then said, "Doors don't open when someone is ready. They open when someone is willing." Eventually, the wind began to soften. The young fox opened its eyes. Its mother stood at the entrance of the cave. She looked back and nodded. Together, they stepped into the morning light. The young fox stopped. Nothing looked the same. Then, far across the sand, something caught its eye. Ancient stone, an archway rising from the dunes, half buried. The young fox stared. "I've never seen that before." Its mother looked toward the ancient stone. "I know. Has it always been there?" For a long moment, she watched the shifting sand. Then she smiled. The desert never stopped changing. The young fox looked again, and somehow it realized there were worlds hidden inside places it thought it already understood. Later, for just the briefest moment, the little star became still. Not dimmer, not brighter, simply still. And in that moment, the little star saw the night. not because the night had appeared. It had always been there. The little star had never stopped long enough to notice it. Around it, countless other stars continued shining. The galaxies continued turning. Nothing had changed. Yet somehow, everything felt different. The little star looked out into the vastness, then back toward its own light. For the first time, it understood its light had never existed to outshine the darkness. Its light allowed the darkness to be seen. And somehow, the little star no longer felt separate from the night. It belonged to something far greater than itself. And from that day, the little star continued to shine. Eventually, the whisper returned. Not louder, closer. The little sapling listened. Every leaf became still, and the whisper said, "Come." Nothing more. The sapling didn't move. It couldn't. It was a tree. Then, without trying, it simply leaned. Only the smallest movement, almost invisible, just enough to stop growing exactly as it always had. And in that moment, the air began to stir, leaves began to move, branches began to sway. One tree, then another, leaned towards the wind. The oldest trees remembered, and somehow, beyond the forest, the great wind continued, as though it had never left at all. Eventually, the young whale swam closer. What had appeared was not what it had expected. Not danger, not emptiness. It was another sea, alive with currents it had never felt, voices it had never heard, colours that it had never imagined. The young whale looked back. The still water was exactly as it had always been. Then it looked towards the endless ocean. For a long moment, it simply floated, watching, listening, breathing. Then it took one slow breath and kept swimming, not because it knew what lay ahead, but because the ocean had become far larger than anything it had ever been told.